Coke machine for real fishing. March 1st already, eh? So here I am out on Calendar Bay after my last shift at work here. Just gonna see if I can catch some fish. Today, I feel like I'm looking for herring. Seems like every time I come out here, the herrings are on the bite, and they're always pretty aggressive, and I like that. So, as far as the conditions are concerned, the lake has maybe 8 to 10 inches of snow on it. We had a bit of a snowy day the other day, and it sort of added up a little bit. But the wind always sort of takes care of a lot as well. The ice is definitely probably over 20 inches thick. And then I don't see any slush conditions where I was walking out here on Calendar Bay. However, I did read something about a guy or a couple of people getting stuck out at Sunset Point there. So I'm going to say there's some slush holes here and there all around. And that's about all I've heard. And then I heard that the entrance at Deepwater Point was all messed up again. It looks like I got a fish coming in on the radar here. What's it going to be? Is it going to bite? I got a really, really small tungsten lure on here right now. So let's see if we can get him to bite. So while we're chatting, and we got sort of the report out of the way, I can tell you all about my trip down to the Muskoka region, down to Rosso. Wasn't sure if that was going to happen. And then Nathan Thompson, the guy who runs Bad Habit Baits, sort of gave me some info on how the ice conditions were down there. My buddy has a cottage down there. And when we were younger people, we used to walk across the lake to his cottage, which is on an island, and we would go ice fishing there a few times. We always had some good fun catching lake trout, mostly lake trout out there. And this year, every couple of years, or every year, we've talked about going again. And then this year, it finally came together. So I'm hoping that that's something we can do every year because it was lots of fun. My brother came with us this time, and he brought his snowmobile, which definitely made life a lot easier as far as getting out our heavy gear and whatnot. And all of us are older folk now. We're all in our 40s. So getting a snowmobile to take us out there was quite handy. Now, of course, we were really worried about whether or not the ice conditions were going to come together there. And they did, finally. And that same rain that eliminated a lot of the slush that's been on Nipissing here, it made it just sheer ice on Rosso. And we had probably a good 8 inches of black ice down there. So that was fun. Now, here's the thing. We didn't catch much in the way of lake trout. Well, I had a lake trout on. I don't usually use tip-ups, and I had one of those thermal tip-ups, and I was just pulling it in so we could go for some lunch. And as I was reeling it up, a fish bit right at the hole. And of course, I got him up out of the hole, and I guess I had a shady knot or something like that. Something broke. Anyway, it wasn't like a huge lake trout, just probably a good eating size. And of course, when I went to dip my hand in the hole to grab him out, I more or less just pushed him down the hole. There wasn't that much of a hole since it was only 8 inches, right? So that was the one lake trout, and I think my brother had one on for 5 seconds, and then he lost it. But we did have a pretty phenomenal night catching ling under the cover of darkness on this reef we were fishing. So we got to eat a whole bunch of ling. I know, I feel like that's a fish that's gaining in popularity these days. It was pretty great. I know that they breed under the ice, and I suspect that's what was going on. So we caught about 8 of them in a couple of hours, and they were all about in the 2-3 pound range, and they were all males. And when we cleaned them, they all had massive sperm sacs. if you catch my drift. So they were obviously showing up at those massive sperm sacs for a reason. And yeah, it was great. And that was the great part of the trip. However, in reviewing the footage I took of that whole trip, I had, um, you know, the camera was in a bad place. It was dark because we were fishing in the darkness. And as a result, I only have a few pictures of the lings we caught and us cleaning them, but no video really of me catching them. But that's okay. We were sort of more focused on hanging out because I was hanging out with friends that I hadn't seen since last summer. So it was a fun trip, and I will be doing that again. So as far as what my schedule looks like for the rest of the season here, I'm gonna try to get out for a lot of tomorrow for fishing. Probably not here, but we'll see. Probably take my flip hut somewhere and try to put in more, maybe like get out at noon and stay till the evening. I doubt I'll be live streaming for that entire time unless there's some sort of crazy bite. But I've heard a dude by the name of Kenster told me that he was catching all kinds of perch this weekend, and that's the kind of bite I haven't gotten into yet, but I'm looking forward to. And then as well, I'll be ending off the season at Paradise Cove Lodge with Reagan Thompson down there. He's invited me and the family to hang out. So we're going to end off the last few days of the season there, which I think is a pretty great way to end the year. And of course, after Nipissing season closes, I'll be going out to a couple of trout lakes, no doubt. I always got to try. Last couple shots at ice fishing. I've gone to Splake Lakes and Rookie Lakes. I'm not, every once in a while I catch a couple Splake, but one day I'll learn how to do it right. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera around so you guys can see my fish finder screen here. All right, I'm going to go through the comments. Eugen, welcome to the party. I'm seeing a fish coming in, keeps coming into my view here, but he's not biting. Colin Ferris, thanks for the good words. Happy fishing. Lucas Miller, no luck yet, but I just started. And I'll be fishing to about 9 or 10:30. Joseph Walsh, how's it going, Coke? Good luck out there. I want to see a big eye. Pressure on. I want to see a big eye too. It was an interesting thing just mentioning Lake Rosso there, is my buddy catches big eyes in the summer on the reef we were at, and at the depth we were fishing, I was expecting that it wouldn't be just ling, but we'd actually see some eyeballs come in, but we did not. In fact, I don't think I've caught an eyeball on that lake ice fishing ever. However, I need to talk to some more people that fish down that area. Like I said, Nathan Thompson, who runs the Bad Habit Baits, he was giving me some info, so I'll have to talk to him a little more thoroughly, especially before I go down there again. I don't know if anybody's been up to Temagami. I know Outdoor Dave has been up that way. I haven't been up yet. I'd love to head up that way. I know at least with Temagami, there's some deeper water you can get in to by walking out, and that would be great. I haven't done Temagami ice fishing in a few years. T. Bishop, good morning to you. Let's see some fish. See, I was having some interesting luck fishing for herring out here the other day, and I could see them come in on the radar like higher up, and you just like reeled up your lure to them, and then they, when they're on the bite, I guess they really hit hard, and they fight hard. They're little fighters, those guys. But yeah, I'm probably yeah, gonna get out tomorrow. Maybe Friday. I feel this season is slipping between my fingers. And, my buddy was busy talking about spring and all this stuff. And I'm just like, don't talk to me about that stuff, I want to hear about ice. But, I'll adapt as things change. There's lots of things in the summer that I enjoy. I used to live on the lake before, and we used to just launch our canoe out from the shore at Yellick there whenever the lake was flat. And you get out a good couple times a year, but now I got to pick some new places where to launch my canoe to get out. So I guess there's going to be some fun in that as well. It's not going to be as easy as just sliding my boat off the shore. There's going to be a lot of having to put it on top of my truck and drive around. There were the last time I was out here and I was doing a live stream, I ran into 3 guys who were out here camping. I don't recall their names at the moment, but my truck died in the parking lot. This was a week ago. It died in the parking lot here in Callender. And I was in a pickle, but the reality is I hadn't changed the battery in my truck since I bought it. I've had it for about 4 years. It's an old Tacoma. And I guess it was time for me to get a new battery. And I was having trouble boosting it, and then one of those 3 guys helped me boost it up. I just had like a bad connection. Revved up. I usually don't have too much trouble with that truck. There's always here or there, it's a 2007. So it's got some miles on it. I think I'm at 340,000 right now. So there's a few problems that have come up over the time I've had it. Mostly it's just rusting into its grave. But I'm going to keep rocking it. I don't have much of a choice these days. But anyway, I got a new battery for that. Went to the local place, Battery, and they seem to help me out. Well, help me out by selling me a battery. So I guess help me out as much as they could. All right, I'm going to try to throw on a slightly different lure here. I've got some salted minnow heads. When I got back from Rosso, I was kind of disappointed to see that all my minnows that I had not only died in their bag, but they also had started to get fuzzy. What? I see a fish down there right now. I better get this thing back down there. That's probably a herring down there. Got him down. Let's see if I can get him. Get him to go for it. Sorry, I don't know if you can see him on screen there. There's definitely a fish. Okay, we're coming into contact and go for it, buddy. Go for it. He's looking at it. Oh yeah. Oh no. He let go. Burn. Something skipped on I guess I didn't have the bail closed properly there. I'm finding that fishing for herrings is kind of fun because they just sort of show up on the screen here, and if you throw down something real small, like they show up anywhere in the water column really. You throw down something small and boom. So yeah, herrings. I was talking to a lady the other day who recognized me outside of Giant Tiger, and she said, I was telling her that I was catching a few herring here in Callender Bay. And she's like, oh, I never caught a herring, but I've caught a Cisco. And I'm just like, Cisco is just one of the many names for these fish. I've also heard them called tubalese, which, that's kind of a funny name. I was feeding my son there over Christmas time. My dad always gets jars of pickled herring, and I'm sure that sounds kind of gross to some people. However, my dad always likes those things, and being of Scandinavian descent, fish, different kinds of smoked and pickled fish are on our list of favorite items to eat. So, You know, Owen's only a quarter finish, but but he likes the pickled herring and he loves the smoked salmon. He'll eat the whole package if you let him. So I'm always joking that he's got the fin in him. All right, I'm gonna throw down this dinner bell. It's about, I don't know, it's not quite the medium. I'm gonna say it's like medium small gold. I'm gonna fire out. I've got a salted minnow head I'm gonna put on top there. David Johnson, welcome to the party, buddy. You're jealous right now. I'm jealous of the guy who caught 1 million perch over the weekend. I mean, I don't know. I get it though. I remember back in the day when I used to live in Toronto, I'd only get out ice fishing like once or twice a year. I definitely enjoy and have made my time, try to get out as much as I can, especially during ice fishing when it's relatively easy for me to get out and just walk out and fish. Yeah, I loved Toronto when I lived there. The culture, the music, the food, all that different stuff. But I'm never going back. Unless I get some sort of hot job, And even then, it would have to be real awesome. But yeah, now that I'm up north here, I'm pretty settled in. I do enjoy being able to go ice fishing as often as I can, and then other kinds of fishing, and just being able to even go out in the forest. I really like that. It's like, I'm not talking about going to a park. Oh, I got a follower. Or do I? Maybe I just let some bubbles off at the bottom there. Walking out into the deep woods out here, like there's all these lumber trails that go all over the place. And it's pretty awesome the kind of areas you can walk out to and the kind of animals you can see out there. And it's a little scary at first, but now that I'm used to it, now that I've been up here for, going on 11 years now, I must say that heading out into the deep woods is one of my favorite things, seeing all the wildlife and bears and moose. I think I see moose the most. And of course, squirrels, red squirrels, lots of squirrels, and grouse, lots of grouse. Good morning, Chris McKay. How are you doing? Thanks for the good luck. Let's see if any of these are herrings up here. Joseph Walsh, I have enjoyed my Tacoma. I have had a few catastrophic moments, but the fixes, it's like for a truck I don't have to pay for anymore. It's like basically, every once in a while I have some sort of thing that happens where it costs me, $500 to $1,000. Replacing the battery was a relatively cheap fix compared to other things. Eugene Christen, once I'm done with this dinner bell here, I will fire on a rattle bait. It might not be a Rapella. I got like 1 million different ones. I'll start with a small one, small gold one by the hell is the company? Forget the company. Northland Tackle, I think it is. Eugene, pickled herring is quite tasty on a cracker with a bit of sour cream on top. That's the way I like to eat it. It's funny, my dad has some sort of problem with eating yogurt. He doesn't like it because of the fermentation process. But then when you look up how they make pickled herring, it's there's quite a fermentation process that goes on with it. So yeah, I was talking about the pickled herring there because as soon as we caught herring, my son was just like, "Let's make pickled herring," and I'm like, "I think the herring they use in that is the ocean going herring." Not to say it's not doable, because I know one guy had mentioned there that he was making herring jerky. I've never heard of people making jerky out of fish ever. You got an '06 Chevy. How's the body holding up on that one there, Joseph? My Tacoma had, right before I bought it, there was a recall on the frame and they replaced the frame. But then there's all sorts of little problems you come across where, you know, they had to dismantle an old truck and put a new frame into it. So you find funny things, zip ties holding things together, or certain fasteners are missing and stuff like that. Hmm. That looks like it must be a bubble floating up the surface. So it's pretty warm out here today. This morning there was a crazy fog, and then that fog's. I think it's cleared up now. Yeah, definitely. It's sunny out there now. I think it's gonna be pretty warm the next couple days, so that might make things a little slushy here or there. It might not. I know on Rosso when I was down there, it was good when we showed up, but the slush sort of slowly got worse. You can imagine with ice only that thick, you're gonna get some issues with slush here and there. There's a few pressure cracks. My brother, he doesn't. He's only had a snowmobile for a couple years, so it's still pretty new to him. But he's figuring out the ins and outs. He went out to Agnew Lake with his buddies, um, with one of his buddies there on Family Day weekend, and I think he got a chance to like really, really rip hard with his snowmobile, which I think, you know, gave him a taste for some speed. Because snowmobile can go pretty fast. I feel like a lot of these snowmobiles they end up breaking down a lot. I don't know. Is that like part and parcel with owning a snowmobile? Is just always fixing it? They always seem like fun to ride. One thing I'd like to get in the future is an ATV, not necessarily for use of ice fishing, but for going down into the backwoods, like I was talking before, getting out some of these trails that have overgrown really heavily and seeing how far you can get. There's definitely some lakes like way out there. Whereas if you can get there, you can fish there. And a lot of lakes out there are either stocked with brookies or they have natural brookies. So that's cool. So you say, Joseph, that your Chevy there is starting to show a bit of rust. You do all the mechanical work on it, eh? Yeah, if my dad lived closer, 'cause he lives down in the Dundalk region down there. If he lived closer, I'd probably do all the work with him, with the exception of some of the trickier stuff. Definitely done some of the work with him. Um, but at the moment, he's got all the tools in the garage and everything. And my grandfather was a mechanic, so my dad picked up a lot of that stuff. Of course, with YouTube these days, you can learn a lot and you can save yourself some serious money, like when it's something small, like brake issues. Bernie Giesler, how is the fishing down your way? Have you been out much? Wayne Foreman, I see you're catching all these whitefish out there, eh? Or how far out onto Simcoe do you have to go to get these, and how deep do you have to go? All right, I'm gonna change up my lure to something noisy. Let's see what I got. So on my dead stick, I've got. Let me show you what I got. I've got one of these guys, which is made by HT Enterprises. It's their quick strike rig. I've got, the trigger, which is another quick strike rig, and I've got the jaw jacker. And the jaw jacker, you have to have like a little loop on it, and you can improvise a loop with fishing line, but it is that's the one thing, is that the mechanism of the jaw jacker, I find, sometimes freezes up. That becomes a bit of a problem because it is a little more complicated than, say, this one here, or the jaw jacker, or the trigger. I'm not sure which one works the best, though. It's like I feel like I made one that was sort of similar to this one, that I think eventually at one point got frozen in the ice, and I feel like I caught lots of fish on it. It's like sort of a similar setup with like the wire and whatnot at the end that sort of the line sits on. But yeah, something happened to that one I made. Now I'm trying out all these other ones here. So, Bern, you haven't been out fishing, but you got a crew coming. Sounds good to me. Ken, welcome to the party. So the perch haven't shown up out here yet. You were telling me about all the perch you were catching on the weekend there. That got me licking my lips to get some perch out of the ice before the season is done. Definitely love when those flurries come in, and like you said, it's been a few years. So Wayne, I've always been under the impression that these whitefish are like deep water fish, but you're saying you're catching them in 21 and 31 feet. 25 is your magic number. I assume you're fishing on shoals that are beside deep water? Yeah, Joseph, definitely. University of YouTube, you learn so many things. Like, I've taken a bunch of courses in like Adobe Illustrator. Like that's what I use for my kids' books there, and as well another piece of software called InDesign, and that's how I do the illustrations in Illustrator and then put them into InDesign, which puts them into a book format. And I can tell you that whenever I have a problem or some little thing I need to figure out, I just type it into YouTube and get an answer. Oh, is there a fish down there? There is. Come on. These lings that I was catching on Rosso, it's like you just see them come in and the bottom just sort of got thicker. And then you just start jigging hard. Anyway, yeah, so many things I can learn, or like the little things you need. Like somebody's got YouTube tutorials on them, just small stuff. It's great. It's great that YouTube exists and people can share their knowledge of things. Yeah, Wayne, I was telling people here that when I was on Lake Rosso there, I got into a sweet burbot bite one night in about 24 feet of water on a reef or between two reefs that were beside deep water, and it was just lots of action. It was great. First, my brother was kind of cringing because I don't think he likes the look of burbot, but man, I'm always on. I'm always up for catching a whole bunch of anything, even if they're the craziest looking fish ever. Tim Everson, thanks for the good words. Some fresh Simcoe perch and chips. Some calamari, eh? It's been a while. So you said, Tim, you were getting whiteys fishing for perch in 18 feet of water. I heard that a lot this year from different people. They were catching whiteys relatively shallow. Yeah, I'd appreciate that, Wayne. If you want to send me some pins, I don't know when I'm gonna get a chance to get down there. I wish sometimes I wish that teleportation existed, and that traveling places didn't take time. But then that would probably cause all sorts of issues. But it would be sweet for me to say, like, all right, this morning I'm going to Simcoe to fish for whiteys, and I just hop into some sort of teleportation box, and then I'm down there, and then when 10:30 hits and I gotta hit the hay, just teleport on back up. Definitely allow me to get to different places little easier. I was having the best of luck, and this year I feel like the most luck I've had is on this little green glowing um buckshot rattle spoon. I'll show it to you, and then I think I'm gonna throw it on. Little wee guy. It might not be the smallest one they make, but it's close. Don't tell me I lost it. There it is. Yeah, this one's been my catch everything on it lure this year. I caught all my lings, the burbots on these ones, and then the herring like this one. I caught a walleye on this one. I feel like I missed a fish down there while I was jamming on through my box there. Yeah, I mean, if I could teleport anywhere, you know, I think I'd love to go where I could catch Arctic char. And probably you'd want to save that kind of trip for, when the temperature gets a little warmer, because I bet you it's like, it'd be like James Bay, you gotta go. That'd be great. Plus, I'd teleport to a few ocean spots. I have fished in the ocean, but I'd love to do it again. There's definitely. I see these guys catching these Goliath groupers, and I'm like, why not me? Those fish are so huge. I mean, they look like a giant bass. I know I've talked about them before, but I'm impressed. All right, we got a fish down there. Does he see? I got a pinner, a salty pinner on there. Come on. These fish don't seem that hungry today. one thing I'm looking forward to when the season warms up is getting down for some. Oh, sorry, there's definitely a fish looking at my stuff down there. I'm looking forward to getting down to Rice Lake for some carp. I know carp aren't a popular fish outside of Europe, but man, Rice Lake especially has got some serious carp action going on there. That's right. Like my birthday's in May, so that's my birthday trip is hard carping. In fact, I gotta edit some carp videos from all the footage I took last year. But I'm sort of in the zone working on another kid's book here. Every time I go to work, and I work on these things at work because I work nights and I've got downtime to do it. Every time I go to work, my son's like, "Are you working on working on?" He keeps on his monster book because he wants me to write a Halloween book, and I will, but that's coming after the one I'm working on right now. The one I'm working on right now is called Star Angler. It's about a little alien guy who comes to Earth to fish. Lots of fun drawing these pictures, coming up with stories. I talking about Lakers and shallow water. In the springtime, going up to like Temagami area lakes there, I remember catching fish where the lake trout were, not all the lake trout, but I remember having a lake trout strike my bait directly beside the boat, like a bass would. So I'm looking forward to like that sort of transitional period when a lot of the trout species are in the shallows. And a lot of times there's about a 2 week slot between when the ice comes off some of these back lakes and when the black flies hit like crazy. I don't know how the thaw is going to go this year. I feel like it thawed a little bit earlier last year, but I know that like Splake and Brookies and stuff like that, you got that ice out period that I'm looking forward to. Every couple of years I seem to catch something. I'm not a trout pro. I'd like to be though. I mean, I'm not a pro at anything. I just like fishing. I'm sure like lots of people. But yeah, the funny thing with carp fishing is that if you want to share your carp that you've caught, the carp fishermen, especially like the most established groups of carp fishermen are in like the UK and all across Europe, and they have very specific standards on how you handle fish. And I know in North America, everybody just views the carp as a garbage fish. But man, if you post a picture of you holding a carp like vertically, these guys will like tear you a new way. And if you have a carp that's lying on the mud, man, these guys will freak out. They have these like essentially what you use is called an unhooking mat, which is basically like a sort of like a pillowy mat that you put the carp on when you're taking the hook off, with the idea of like trying to minimize any kind of damage they might get from being caught. So, and if you don't have an unhooking mat, you're not taking your pictures well in a kneeling position. Like there's lots of really intense standards people have. So you try to share a picture of a carp like that, and then you'll get a million guys chirping you in a carp group specifically. So anyway, I think carp are great, and I think lots of people really hate on them, but they are a really fun game fish to go for. And there's nothing like sitting on a dock, with your buddies, can of corn, I mean, I've got sort of more intense equipment than that, but not like crazy. I don't spend like a crazy amount of money on my carp gear, but I got some stuff that makes it easier to do. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that and the ice out trout. And I'm looking forward to, I do a lot of archery in the summer, so I'm looking forward to getting up to that again. It's good fun. But I will always miss the ice. Yeah, the sheepshead are like they're like the carp of Nipissing. I also would like to get into catching more of them. Definitely not for eating, but I had a few of them. I think I caught 3 of them last summer in the Yellock area there, and they were all big enough to tow me around in the canoe. And with a fish like a sheep's head, because they're so wide bodied, they got a lot of grip on the water, so they can really pull you around. You always know it's them because they'll fight as hard as a smallmouth bass, but they won't jump. They'll pull and pull and pull and just be like endless fighters, but but they will never jump. Or at least I've never seen them jump. Never say never, right? Yeah, thanks a lot for showing up there, Wayne. Let me know. I've heard word, Ken, that um that there's a real big white bass run in Sturgeon Falls in the river there. I've caught one white bass out on the main lake since I've been here, but I've got no doubt that there's some serious white bass out here, and I'd love to get an opportunity to take advantage of those white bass. I feel like everybody who I see fishing for them on in the Sturgeon River there, they seem to all go out in boats, and it's kind of a time of year when the river is a little wild. But from what I heard, when the run's on with those white bass, you can have a sore arm. That's the kind of fishing I like. And I heard they're also delicious. Throwing down a Simcoe bug. See if there's a fish that keeps looking at my stuff down there, and I don't know what he wants. He doesn't seem to want the minnows that I'm putting down. Just likes looking at lures, I guess. It was funny. Years ago, I always thought that brook trout were just little wee, 6-inch trout, and that was it. And then when I moved up here, I started seeing people post these pictures of these, big, big brookies. I'm just like, wow. I always thought they were just a little guy. I wonder if those white bass go through the Lavasse River there, because that's definitely a river I can get some access to. Maybe this year again, I'll go out with the Lake Nipissing Stakeholders Association and go out to see them do the breeding again. We'll see. That was kind of neat. If you guys haven't watched that video, I suggest you give it a view. It's pretty neat to see people, people from around the lake coming together to keep this walleye breeding program going every year. And I think they're always in need of a few more volunteers if anybody wants to take part. Come on, fish. So I guess I got about 15 minutes left to go here before I'm going to have to wrap it up. I'm hoping at least a herring comes in here. Oh, shit, we're running out of gas. I mean, it's going to be nice warm weather. I'm hoping to do some open air fishing over the next couple days. because that's the best. I'll have to check what the wind is. It's always a case of 1 degree or 2 degrees is nice, but if you got a crazy wind blowing on you, then you're kind of boned. Come on. So Ken, you're telling me about the rig you were catching all these perch on there, and I was trying to envision it. Is there any chance you can send me a picture of that? It sounded like a solid perch rig. Somebody's going to look. And sometimes I feel like whatever's down there is just a mud puppy who's like really eyeballing my Simcoe bug. I'm gonna put it right on bottom. Yeah, so I'll probably be doing a live stream tomorrow night for the afternoon bite. I'll see where I end up being when that goes down. I'm thinking about taking my flip hut out somewhere, but we'll see. Man, this fish is just like right on the bottom. I'm gonna try like a really small tungsten bead again. Let's see if he wants that. Tungsten teardrop. A little chartreuse worm on the back. Sometimes it feels like these fish this year have just been wanting like the tiniest of things. All right. So it's been interesting fishing out here on Calendar Bay because it's where I was fishing before was always really quiet. I mean, relatively quiet. But out here it's busy. Just constant driving around, people driving around. I'm gonna fire down this little guy. I call that my herring slayer. Probably work really good for perch as well. All right, let's see if this works. I got about 10 minutes left here. Be nice to get one fish out of the hole before I gotta go. A few drastic jiggings here. Last week we got a visit from the MNR out here. Came out, checked my license, said hello to the boy. I was out here on Thursday with my son. Of course, everything you catch with that guy, he's like, let's keep it. But I remember being a kid too. Oh, it's really sunny out there now. Lots of sun. It's probably gonna be a nice, toasty, warm day. Just gonna play the water column here a little bit. Settle on 20 for a second. There's definitely a fish down there. The very bottom, hugging the bottom. All right, fish. Doing the subtlest jigs I can here. Come on. This is right on the bottom. All right. Let's adjust the camera a little bit here. You know, these fish don't seem to want to bite this morning. They're just viewers. Just viewing my baits. Yeah, we definitely at Rosso there caught quite we caught about 8 2 to 3 pound burbot there, and we only kept 4 because what are you gonna do? I've heard if you freeze them, they sort of go mushy. So we basically just cooked up a bunch, and then I had enough to go home. And this is where I wish I had I have an underwater camera. I wish I had it here right now, so I could see what this creature is that keeps looking at my lure and then disappearing. He's right on the bottom, which makes me think mud puppy. Come on, fish. I'm starting to get a little bit hungry. Yeah. 4 minutes left to go. Yeah. It disappears. So far nothing on the dead stick, nothing on the live stick. Well, come on, fish. So I guess the guy who owns this hut I'm in right now said this past weekend was one of the slowest weekends yet. So it jives pretty well with what's going on here right now. Sorry to be yawning here. Yesterday I spent a lot of time waiting for the plow guy to show up to plow my driveway, so I didn't get a full day's sleep. Oh yeah. One of my buddies just sent me a message and reminded me that a year ago today I did the walk across the lake. Maybe I'll share that up on my Facebook page. Can't believe it. 8 years ago, walked across the lake to help these guys to help get money to get these guys I was working with at the time a motorcycle and a sidecar. It's a pretty awesome time. Walking across the lake was really something. I mean to do it again. For a while there, I was walking out to the islands and back, which is fun. But on that day, I left from the government dock in North Bay, and I landed at the Waltonian Inn. There's definitely a fish watching here. Sorry, I'm hoping to commemorate that with catching a fish. And these fish are just not hungry. Or I'm just not playing the right cards here. All right. Down to the last few minutes. Correction, last minute. Come on, fish. Well, all right. Well, doesn't look like this fish is gonna bite today, and I'm ready to go home and go to sleep. So thanks a lot for everybody who joined the stream here. If you haven't hit the like button yet, feel free to hit it. And I'm going to bed. We'll catch you guys maybe tomorrow. Hopefully the evening bite with this warmer temperature and whatnot. Hopefully the bite will be on. We'll see where I end up going. All right, everybody. Have a great day.